We need to talk about the lick ick.
Oh, we do.
Because it's really the only way to describe a very particular scene in the new season of And Just Like That. It happened in episode 1, which is the follow-up to Sex and the City. Side note, why can't it just be called Sex and the City? I still don't understand.
Because it's a new universe, Mia. Have you not listened to Daddy Michael Patrick King? It's a new show. It's a new era. It's a new time. Get with it. Get with it.
Okay, so we have done another episode that we dropped on the weekend where we recap episode 1. That's not what this is. Because in case you haven't got around to watching it on Max, the lick ick happens during a phone sex scene between Carrie in her enormous New York apartment and her on-off.
Would we call it an apartment or would we call it a mansion?
It's like a two-story.
Like
I know they keep calling it a
townhouse.
brownstone or an apartment. I don't know how New York works. She hasn't. Her on-off love interest is Aidan. He's sitting in his car in a field in Virginia with a beer and his hand down his pants. Here's a little bit about how it sounded.
Touch yourself. Go ahead. Touch yourself. Be me. For me. Are you touching yourself?
Man. Oh, this is I actually can't listen. He licks his hand.
Can we talk about the licking of the hand?
Yes,
Sure.
Okay, because
How much worse can this get?
Spent the weekend asking men I know about the licking because I didn't know that we licked our hand. I didn't know that that's what we did. And I don't understand because I was like, do men use lube? Why did he need to lick his hand in order to do that?
Surely you can work it out.
Yeah. This is why very often hand cream near the bed.
Before we
Vaseline.
woman-splain it, what did the men in your life tell you?
One man in my life said, I don't know. I don't understand. And I was like, okay, so I don't know if this is a very personal thing that's going on, but it was the grunting for me. It was definitely the lick of the hand.
It was so bad.
And it was, I said in that episode that we recorded about And Just Like That I find Aidan deeply unsexy, so that contributed to my
I've
cringe.
always found him a bit soft. He's not my type of person. And look, I think it's safe to say a new level of ick was unlocked in that scene and by this episode.
It's so funny because when we recorded our And Just Like That recap, as you just referred to it, so we were lucky enough to watch the episodes a little bit early, right? And we hadn't seen the public reaction to episode 1 yet. But it was very similar to ours.
Yes.
Which was like, wah!
Yeah.
And then I did listen to what Michael Patrick King had to say about it. And he said he wanted to push Aidan and Carrie to places they hadn't been before.
Which is difficult because I've been to a lot of places.
And that Carrie has never really done the dirty talk in that way before, and it was a whole new thing. And I was like, do we have to break new ground at this point? Do we have to?
Well, the sound you can hear is the sound of millions of women's legs just snapping shut and their vaginas shriveling up into deserts even thinking about that scene. But scene aside, group chats and social and out louders in all the groups and all the places, you're all popping off with opinions about the show. It's cringe. It's fabulous. We're appalled by the characters.
It's cringe and fabulous.
We're delighted to spend
100%.
time with them again. All of the above.
It's terrible. I can't wait for next week.
Yeah. Why do you think it's so polarizing, huh?
I think, we've talked a lot about how much we love these women and we love spending time with them, but there is nothing they could ever do that would make us happy, because when you've got literally 20 years of history with somebody, you've got a lot of opinions about how they should behave. But I think that despite everybody's varied opinions about this season is going to be a hit, because without question, what we are all in the mood for is some silly fun. Look at a lot of the shows, with a few very notable exceptions like Adolescence. A lot of the big shows in the last year have been fluffy, what we would call fluffy. So even if they do have a bit of darkness in them, they've been very camp, very colourful, very funny. So think White Lotus, think The Perfect Couple, think Sirens, which is what everybody's watching
I'm
at
watching
the moment.
that. I love it.
Think even I inhaled that Running Point with Kate Hudson in it. I acknowledged when I recommended it that I didn't necessarily think it was particularly high quality, but it was exactly what I was in the mood for. And I think there's two things about this. One is, there's no question the world is dark and all of those things. Politics is a very dangerous place to go at the moment, particularly in America. Everybody's talking about polarization and how let's just all talk about something else. They even cut some politics from White Lotus. Remember that?
Yeah.
They got rid of a storyline about one of the characters having a trans child, because I think that at the moment everybody's going, we don't want to talk about anything serious. We just want to watch the beautiful houses, have a laugh, like discuss whether or not Aidan's penis is disgusting and whether he should have licked his hand.
Or whether Carrie's hat is absurd. Yes. Like that seems like a safe thing to
I just need
be
to
divided
think about a bonnet. Yeah. I just need to think about a bonnet for a little while. I think it is the re-emergence of camp and this sort of 90s sensibility, because there's also the rewatch phenomenon. And it's like going back to your childhood home in a way where it was simpler and when you were different. Because that's going back to these characters reminds me of who I was when I watched it for the first time. And I was scrolling the other day and there was a clip from the show Felicity. Remember the show Felicity? Yes. Hadn't thought about that in years. And I thought, oh, I'd love to go back and watch that. Even the way it was filmed, it was so much softer. It was almost blurrier. There was no high definition. The camera panning was different. And I thought, oh, that would be such a reprieve to go back and watch that kind of comfort viewing.
Do you think it's also second screening in a specific way, how it's actually changed how the shows work, in that every so often the characters sort of mention the plot, like restate what's happening, almost like daytime soaps.
All
like the Bold
TV
and the Beautiful
shows do that.
Yeah, and exactly reality TV shows. And that's to account for the fact that people are sort of looking at their phones and then they'll look up and they still need to be able to be following what's going along.
Yeah, and also you can predict what the next sentence is. Like there are no surprises. Obviously there was big in the first season, but other than that, there's not been any high-stakes surprises. And I know that—
I didn't think Miranda was going to fuck a nun. I wouldn't have had that on my bingo card.
Yeah, but like it didn't change my week, you know?
Yeah,
it was just Aidan that changed my week. But there are two things going on. For the worst. Because you're right, there's like this campy fluff. But then I think if we're—
Is it fair to call it fluff? That feels dismissive.
Okay, but I like fluff. So I don't think fluff is dismissive. I think there's a place for everything. I mean, people have never watched as many documentaries as they have since streaming, right? If you want to go and watch something incredibly smart and in-depth, that's what Jessie's doing most Friday nights.
I watched a documentary this weekend.
Really? Like true crime stuff.
True crime stuff, anything you want about climate change, about the state of the prison system, about anything you want. It's there for you, right? And I think that's great. But also when I think there's a growing feeling of like when I just want to turn my brain off. It doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's terrible.
Escapism.
I'm always looking for those shows.
Every producer, publisher, everyone I speak to says the thing we're looking for right now are rom-coms. Yeah. That's what everyone has been wanting for the last 2 years. That's what they're seeking. On the other hand, though, let's be honest about the biggest shows of 2025, because it's adolescence, as you said. It's Severance. It's The Pit. The Handmaid's Tale has just wrapped up. Even The White Lotus, there was some darkness to that. Like there is this other side, which is like this prestige dark television that is grappling with the intensity of our times.
But I agree, but I also think that prestige TV doesn't have to be dark, right? Which is what White Lotus, I mean, it's always dealt with dark things. Yeah. It's a murder show from its first season, but it does it in quite a light way. Right. And I think you're right, of course, with adolescents and those shows. But I think there's a mood shift, and it's to do with playing it safe a little bit. But those shows can still be high quality.
I heard it described, Sirens and Just Like That, as affluence porn. Because there's
The Perfect Couple was definitely that.
Because there's this self-consciousness to obviously The White Lotus, which is all about let's hate on rich people. But this is almost like unashamed, look at the bonnet, look at the mansion, look at her do this up. And we're allowed to just kind of, I guess that's what Selling Sunset is as well. It's just like this escapism, and maybe there's some aspiration behind it.
A bit of a recession indicator as well.
Yep.
Like the harder things are in people's real lives, the more they want to escape, and like little luxuries and little indulgences.